All right, Sergio, come on up. I think you've made quite an impression here.
That's not fair. I was going to come up and not be a little crybaby. I told my students today I was going to come and do a speech to accept an award, and they know who I am. And they said, make sure you don't throw up. I'll try not to do that. I am truly honored by this award. When I found out that I had won, I began to think back to the beginning of my career. First-year teachers seem to have one of two mindsets. They're either going to change the world or are just hoping to survive the first year. I was going to change the world until I taught for 1 week. I went home after that week wondering, what did I get myself into? It was not going to be as easy as I thought, but I felt that if I showed my students that I truly cared about them, I could help them see me and their school in a positive light. I began talking to them about my childhood, and they realized that many of the struggles they were going through were similar to mine. I asked for their opinion, hoping to empower them by asking them how we could make our school better. Some came up with having class pets. Others came up with only coming to school 2 days a week. Some of us might like that too. Another came up with making our school beautiful by building the garden. She had remembered her old school full of beautiful gardens and was sad that her school was ugly. I agreed with her, and the rest of the class thought that it would be a great thing for our school. At recess, she came back and asked, so, when are we going to build this garden? I looked at this very determined 10-year-old girl and tried to explain the complexities of building such a project. You see, I have to ask for permission. We have to find the right location. When and how are we going to take care of this garden? And the biggest question, how are we going to pay for it? Once I stopped explaining why it would be so difficult, I looked down, and there was Alejandra with a very firm look on her face, and she said, Mr. Dialva, those are just details. I looked at her, smiled, and said, you know what, you're right. Excited, I went to the office to speak to our principal about the idea we had to make our school better. Mrs. Ward looked at me like my mother had so many times before and sternly said, how are you going to pay for this? Who's going to take care of it? Mrs. Ward, those are just details. After a few months of planning, she approved, and I began writing letters to foundations and local businesses to get the required money. By February, we had $30,000 in donations, materials, and grants. By March, we had finished our garden, and a new excitement was created in my classroom. The way I viewed my role as a teacher changed as well. You see, teachers not only provide new knowledge, teachers are respected members of the community that can improve the lives of those around them. When we were building our first garden, a local company donated the fence that would surround our project. My principal was amazed at the gift and asked me, how did you get them to make this donation? I just told them about the project and what I was trying to accomplish, and they wanted to be a part of it. It was the fact that a teacher wanted to do something extra for the children of our town that inspired others to do more. The garden was not just a garden. The garden united our students and parents in a way that I could never imagine. That garden changed how our students saw their school and felt empowered because they were a part of something big. That garden has provided me an avenue to create engaging, thought-provoking lessons that don't only enhance the education of my students, but enrich their experience. Because of that garden, I made a promise to myself that I would do at least one community service project for our school every year that I taught. I have built 20 gardens, a plaza, a Veterans Memorial stage, and a baseball field on our campus in the past 14 years. And with each project, I see the powerful connections that our students and parents have made with our school. That passion I felt that first year of teaching gets stronger every year. though at times, just like any other teacher, I feel tired and frustrated at the difficult parts of the profession. I seem to find inspiration, though, and a renewed sense of passion for what I do because of the difference that I make in the lives of my students. Yes, my students do well on the state test. They're prepared for the next academic year. But what I am most proud of is the sense of hope that teachers are able to instill. I see it in the way my students act and how they see themselves. I see it in the thank you notes I get long after they leave my class. But the most powerful is in how they see my class as a family, and that I have been able to show them a sense of love that is lacking in so many of our students' lives. The last day of school is always very emotional in my class. Every year, without fail, I have a straggler or two that stay after because of what my class has meant to them. I have gotten so many letters on that last day that are filled with so much love that I can't help but remember that to be called teacher is much more than a job. It's an opportunity to change lives, to change the world one student at a time. I truly love teaching. This type of award is really never won by only the person receiving it. I have been very fortunate in my career to have colleagues that have helped me achieve success. From helping to create programs to building projects, not only does the staff at Biano support the positive ideas, but also donate time and money to make my vision a reality. My students, there are so many times that I thought to myself, am I really making a difference? To the students that tell me how much you appreciate my efforts, thank you for giving me that extra motivation that reminds me why I became a teacher in the first place. My wife, with the amount of time and effort that I give after school and during weekends, I know how lucky I am to have you as my wife. Tomorrow is our 19th wedding anniversary, and it feels as if we're still in high school. This is the suit that I wore that day, too. Second time I use it. My wife has been the biggest reason that I have been able to be a success. You have been such an important part of everything that I have been able to achieve. I know that I would never have been able to do anything I have done without you. Linda and Emma, my two beautiful daughters. When I knew I was going to be a dad, I wanted one thing more than anything. I wanted to be a positive role model that you could be proud of. I wanted to be the kind of dad that you could look up to. I don't know if you can tell, but they're my life. Whenever I think about doing anything, I think about you, and if it would be something that would make you proud. You inspire me to not only be a better dad, but a better teacher. You make me proud every day to be your dad because I see just how wonderful you are, and I actually look up to you. To my family, my colleagues who surprised me by coming today, and my students, this award belongs to you. Thank you all.
All right, I'm a little curious. I bet you guys are too. Sergio, don't leave yet. I've got to tap into my interviewing tendencies here. I've got to ask you a couple questions, Sergio. Before you take the picture, come here real quick. Sorry, Superintendent Gomes and CEO Beth Dooley. So, a couple things. All the things that have been buried, the time capsules, what's the craziest thing that you guys have buried in there?
All those are actually ancient Egyptian artifacts, but it's part of sixth grade curriculum. So to make it more interesting, we each make our own artifact. And so there's nothing really too crazy, but it's just a lot of fun to be able to connect it to their curriculum. In fact, one of my colleagues had their class digging today, and they just had a ball. Sixth graders, when you have them digging, they turn to kindergartners. It was fun. It was fun. They're not cool anymore. They're just having fun.
Well, my older daughter's in 6th grade. I think I'm going to suggest that to her teacher, too. And the final question I had, you guys heard when he said that he takes on a different community service project every year, right? And he talked about the Veterans Memorial and the baseball field and all that. So why don't you tell us what your project is this school year? Because you just started last month.
I'm actually working on a new garden this year. And this time, instead of wood, we're making it out of concrete. So it's a little bit bigger, but it should be done hopefully within the next 2 months.
All right. Congrats.
With the proper funding.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.